It was around 10:45 p.m. when I realized the door was locked. Not just closed, not just pulled shut, it was locked from the inside. I'd just come back from taking the trash out. I'd left my phone charging on the kitchen counter and the dishwasher humming softly, thinking I'd get in bed, scroll a little, maybe watch something if she was still awake. But when I tried the doorknob, it didn't turn. I knocked once. No answer. I knocked again, a little louder this time. "Hey," I said through the door, did you lock this?" A pause, then her voice. "Yeah, just a second." I waited. Nothing. I knocked again, trying to keep my voice casual. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, I'm just on the phone." "With who?" She didn't answer immediately. I could hear a low murmur from behind the door like someone talking, but it was muffled. Then she said, "I'm talking to Matt from work." I paused, hand still on the knob. "Matt?" I repeated. "Why do you have to lock the door to talk to Matt?" Another pause. "I just wanted privacy," she said a little too quickly. "We're going over something from the campaign pitch. It's late and I didn't want to disturb you if you were already asleep." I stared at the door. "I'm not asleep," I said. "I know," she replied, and then I heard her voice lower again, like she was trying to talk around the phone. It wasn't the first time I'd heard about Matt. He was her work husband, a term she'd used before in that half-joking way some people do when they're close to a coworker. She mentioned him enough times over the past 6 months that I knew his favorite coffee order, how he hated meetings before 10 a.m., and that he had a thing for obscure horror movies. I didn't love it, but I hadn't said much. She always laughed it off like it was harmless. But tonight didn't feel harmless. I stood there for another minute before I knocked again, harder. "Can you open the door?" I asked. She didn't respond this time. I could hear her voice still low, still talking to him. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was soft, personal. I felt something in my chest go cold. I turned away and walked down the hall, trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I wasn't the kind of person who jumped to conclusions, and I hated drama. But locking the door to have a late-night call with a guy she'd admitted to being emotionally close to? That wasn't nothing. I sat on the couch and stared at the dark TV screen, listening. About 15 minutes later, I heard the door open. Her footsteps were quiet, but I knew she was standing in the hallway just out of view. "You still up?" she asked. I didn't look at her. "Yeah." She walked a little closer. "I didn't mean to make it weird. It was just a late call. We had to go over something for the presentation tomorrow." I turned to look at her. She had that guarded look she got when she knew she'd crossed a line but wasn't ready to admit it. "You could have taken the call in the living room," I said, or the office. "I didn't think it would be a big deal. You locked the door. It was just—" She started, then stopped. "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" She looked down, crossed her arms. "I don't know. I just needed space. I didn't want to have the conversation in front of you. I wanted to keep pushing, but part of me didn't want to hear whatever excuse was coming next. Instead, I stood up. I'm sleeping on the couch." She didn't try to stop me, didn't say goodnight, just stood there watching me walk past. I didn't sleep much that night. I lay on the couch staring at the ceiling, shifting between staring at the shadows on the wall and checking my phone, even though there were no new messages. It was a weird kind of silence, too quiet, like the house knew something was off. We'd been married 7 years. I wasn't the jealous type. I wasn't someone who snooped through phones or got suspicious when she mentioned another guy's name. But something about the way she'd locked that door and the way her voice dropped when she talked to him, it wasn't something I could write off. Around 6:30 the next morning, I heard the coffee machine click on. She was in the kitchen, moving quietly, almost like she didn't want to wake me. When I walked in, she turned halfway and gave me a look like she wasn't sure what I was still angry about. "Morning," she said, soft. "Morning." I poured myself a cup and leaned against the counter. She stood by the sink, sipping from her mug, not looking at me. "I have that client pitch at 10, she said. "I might be home late." "Are you going with Matt?" She blinked, then gave a short laugh like I'd said something dumb. "It's the whole team. He's part of it." "You two seem close." She turned fully then. "Is that what this is about? You're upset because I talked to someone I work with?" "No," I said. "I'm upset because you locked me out of our bedroom to talk to him late at night, privately. That's not normal, and you know it." She sighed. "You're reading too much into it. You don't understand how intense things are at the office right now." "Then explain it to me." "I don't owe you a detailed report every time I make a phone call." "No, but if you're locking me out to do it, maybe you owe me something." She didn't say anything to that, just took her mug and walked down the hall. I sat at the kitchen table after she left, trying to piece together how far back this had been going. The name Matt had come up for the first time in late summer, September maybe. She'd come home from one of those company happy hours and mentioned how funny he was. "He's like my work husband," she'd said, laughing. "We're always stuck in meetings together." The time I hadn't really thought about it, but the signs were there once I started looking back. Longer hours, late texts. That one Saturday in October when she said she was meeting a few coworkers to prep for Monday, but came home with a gift bag from some obscure record shop downtown. She said it was a client freebie. I didn't push it. Now I wondered who it was really for. That night I checked our phone plan. I wasn't proud of it, but I wanted to know if I was just being paranoid. I pulled up the online bill and clicked through the itemized usage. Her number was there, of course, and so was another one, same area code, recurring at odd hours, late evening, sometimes past midnight, same number almost every day. I copied it and searched my messages. It wasn't in my phone. I couldn't prove it was Matt, but I didn't need to. The next few days, I didn't say much. She was either working late or coming home tired and distracted. We barely talked. Meals were quiet. At night, she lay in bed, scrolling through her phone with the screen tilted away from me. I didn't ask. She didn't offer. Friday came and she told me she had a work dinner. Not the whole team this time. Just a few of us, she said vaguely. Matt? I asked. She hesitated. Yeah, he'll be there. I nodded. She went to shower and get ready, and I stood in the living room just watching the hallway. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, something subtle but permanent. When she came out, she had on the dark blue dress I liked, the one she wore on our anniversary 2 years ago. She hadn't worn it since. You look nice, Ma, I said. She smiled faintly. Thanks. Then she picked up her bag, said, Don't wait up, and left. She didn't get home until after midnight. I was awake. She didn't notice. I started watching them more closely after that night. Not just her. I started paying attention to what she said, when she said it, what she left out. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I just listened. The next time she mentioned Matt, we were eating breakfast, a casual Saturday morning, both of us in sweats, eggs, and toast on mismatched plates. She was scrolling on her phone, smiling at something. What's funny? I asked. Matt just sent me this meme, she said, laughing softly. She turned the screen to show me some joke about office coffee being jet fuel. I nodded. You guys talk a lot outside of work. Not that much, she said, shrugging. Just random stuff. But I saw the way she typed back right away, the way her smile lingered after. Later that day, I went to her laptop while she was in the shower. It wasn't locked. I didn't have a specific plan. Just something in me wanted to see if she was still talking to him while I was around. She hadn't logged out of her Gmail. Most of it was work threads, newsletters, order confirmations. But in the chats section, there it was. Matt. F. I clicked. The messages weren't explicit. They weren't even flirty, not obviously, but they were personal. Ugh, I can't wait to be out of here tonight. That meeting was brutal. Tell me about it. I wish you were here. I know. That lunch last week seriously saved me. Same, still thinking about that lemon tart and you in that jacket. I stopped there. I didn't know what I expected, but it was worse seeing how casual it was. Like this wasn't new, like they had a rhythm. I heard the water shut off and quickly closed the tab. When she came out, towel wrapped around her hair, she looked relaxed, comfortable. I felt like I didn't know her. That night we went out to dinner. I suggested it, hoping to pull things back, even if just temporarily. A local Italian place we used to go to when we first moved here. She was distant most of the meal, kept checking her phone. I tried to ask her about work, about her week. She kept the answers short. Anything you want to talk about? I asked finally. She looked at me, then down at her water. I feel like you're angry with me all the time, she said. I don't know what's going on with us lately. I'm not angry, I said. I'm confused. You've changed. You don't talk to me the way you used to. You're always on your phone, always messaging Matt. It's like you're not here anymore. Her face tightened. He's just a friend. He listens. He gets what I'm dealing with at work. I'm your husband. I'm supposed to be the one you talk to. I try, she said, but you're always so watching me, judging me. It's like I can't even breathe without it being wrong. I'm watching because something's going on, and you won't be honest about it. We didn't speak much after that. A few days later, I saw it for the first time. I had to go into the office to drop off some equipment. As I was leaving the parking garage, I saw her. At a cafe 2 blocks away, sitting across from Matt. It wasn't a group lunch. It wasn't even a table in the back. They were out front, in the open, leaning in close. She was laughing. He touched her hand just for a second, but it was enough. I sat in my car with the engine running, watching through the windshield. She never mentioned it when she got home that night. I didn't either. Not yet. But I knew what I'd seen. I waited 3 days before saying anything. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to be wrong. Maybe I hoped she'd bring it up on her own, explain it somehow, but she didn't. Those 3 days were slow and strange. She acted normal, not overly nice, not distant either, just fine. Like nothing was happening. Like she didn't spend her lunch break with another man while I sat in my car 100 feet away. I didn't sleep much. My head was a loop of what I'd seen at the cafe, the way her body angled toward his, how relaxed she looked, how he reached out and touched her hand like it wasn't the first time. On Thursday, I came home early. I told my boss I wasn't feeling well. By 3 p.m., I was parked across from her office building in the back of a grocery store lot. At 4:12, she came out. Not alone. He was with her, tall, dark jacket, laughing at something she said. They walked close, too close. She bumped his arm lightly and smiled up at him. They didn't get into the same car. She walked to her sedan. He went the opposite direction. But before she opened the door, she turned around, said something else, and touched his sleeve. I drove home with the heat off, gripping the wheel too tight. That night after dinner, I waited for her to settle in. She was curled on the couch with a throw blanket, flipping through some show she half watched while scrolling on her phone. I sat across from her. I saw you with Matt the other day, I said. She looked up, startled. What? Monday. At the cafe? Her face changed. Not fear, something flatter, resignation. I didn't think you'd be around there, she said, although, so you weren't going to tell me? It was just lunch. Was it? Yes. She looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. We go out sometimes, it's not a secret. You touched his hand. Her eyes narrowed. You were watching me? I was there, I didn't plan it, I saw you and I watched because something isn't right. She stood up, blanket falling to the side. You're being obsessive. No, I said, I'm paying attention. You locked me out of our room to talk to him. You message him all day. You go out with him and lie about it. What am I supposed to think? He's my friend. You don't get to control who I talk to. I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to understand why you're sneaking around. I'm not sneaking, she snapped. You're spying. That's what this is. I laughed, bitter. You really think you're the victim here? She crossed her arms. You're acting paranoid. Matt is one of the only people I can actually talk to right now. Why can't you talk to me? She didn't answer right away. Because you make everything about you, she said finally. Because when I say I'm stressed or I'm overwhelmed, you try to fix it or dismiss it. Matt just listens. So you go to him, you shut me out, and you let him in. And that's fine with you? She didn't respond. That silence said more than anything she could have come up with. I got up and went into the bedroom, shut the door. This time, I was the one who locked it. I didn't check her phone that night. I didn't need to. Whatever line I'd been hoping she wouldn't cross, emotionally, physically, however you want to define it, I knew deep down she'd already stepped over it. The next morning was quiet. We both got up early, but we didn't say much. She moved around the kitchen like it was any other day, made coffee, scrolled her phone, checked the weather. I watched her from the hallway. Her face was neutral, calm, not guilty, not sad, just blank. I almost told myself I was overreacting. Then I saw her phone light up with a message while she was rinsing a mug. I couldn't read the whole preview, but I caught the name, Matt F. And the first few words, still thinking about last night. She picked up the phone like nothing was unusual and slid it into her pocket. Meeting starts early, she said. I've got to go. I didn't answer. When she left, I sat down at the table and stared at the wood grain. The air in the house felt off, like something had died and no one wanted to say it out loud. I called in sick. I didn't really plan to. I just couldn't imagine pretending things were normal for 8 hours while I was stuck in this limbo. Around 11, I opened her laptop again. I wasn't proud of it, but I wasn't going to lie to myself anymore. I needed to know for sure. The browser opened right back to Gmail. The chat window was still there, same thread from the other day. I scrolled up. It went back months. At first, it was mostly inside jokes, office talk, complaints about management. Then it turned. Matt, you looked amazing today, by the way. Her, you're too much. I was a mess. Matt, nah, trust me, you've got that glow. I notice it every time. Her, you're sweet. Wish I could hear that kind of thing more often. I kept reading. Her, sometimes I think about just walking away from everything, starting fresh. Matt, you know I'd be there in a second. Her, I know. I felt my hands go cold, my chest hollow. I scrolled down to the more recent ones. Her, last night meant more than I can say. Matt, it did for me too. Her, I couldn't stop thinking about it on the drive home. There was no guesswork anymore. This wasn't emotional confusion or some blurred line between friends. It was real. They hadn't just crossed the line, they were living on the other side of it. I sat with that for a long time, not moving, not crying, just sitting. She got home late that night, said work had run long again. I just nodded. You already ate? She asked. Yeah. I'm exhausted, she said, dropping her bag. I might shower and go straight to bed. I nodded again. She didn't look me in the eye once. I waited until I heard the water running before I opened the drawer in the hallway cabinet, found the small black flash drive I used for work backups. Then I went back to her laptop, plugged it in, and copied the entire message thread into a folder. Screenshots, email logs, the works. It wasn't revenge, it was proof. Because I wasn't going to let her tell me I imagined this, not when it all finally came to the surface. The day I showed her the proof didn't start out like a confrontation. It was a Sunday, gray sky, cold outside. We stayed in like we usually did when we didn't feel like pretending things were fine around other people. She sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket watching some documentary with her legs tucked under her. I was in the kitchen, washing a bowl slowly, mostly just thinking through how to start the conversation. I hadn't told anyone, no friends, no family. I hadn't even said the word out loud, affair. It still sounded foreign in my head, but the screenshots were saved in a folder called M, just that. One letter. Even naming the folder had made it feel too real. Around 2:30, I walked into the living room and turned the TV off. She looked up sharply. Hey, what are you doing? I need to talk to you. She sat up straighter, still clutching the blanket. About what? I picked up the remote and set it on the table. About Matt. Her eyes flickered just for a second. What about him? I know you've been seeing him outside work, and I know it's not just lunch or meetings. She went quiet. I saw the messages, I said. All of them. She stared at me for a few seconds like she was waiting to see how serious I really was. Then she dropped her head into her hands. Jesus, she whispered. You weren't going to tell me, were you? I didn't know how. I sat across from her. So, how long? She didn't answer right away. Then finally, a few months. Did you sleep with him? She closed her eyes. That was the answer. I leaned back against the chair. It felt like I'd left my body. She spoke quietly. It just happened. I didn't plan it. It started with long days, venting, talking through stuff. I didn't feel like I could talk to you anymore. You didn't even try, I said. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is locking me out of our bedroom so you could talk to him. What's not fair is lying to my face while you were meeting him on your lunch breaks and calling him at night and telling him you couldn't stop thinking about it. She flinched. You read everything? I did. We sat there in silence. Then she asked something I didn't expect. Are you gonna leave me? I looked at her for a long time. I don't know, I said. She didn't cry. She didn't apologize, not really. She just sat there, hands in her lap, like she'd run out of ways to defend herself. I never meant for it to get this far, she said. I shook my head. You say that like it just happened to you, like it wasn't every choice you made, every text you sent, every time you looked me in the eye and lied. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. I stood up and walked to the hallway. I paused, hand on the frame. I'm gonna stay with my brother for a few days, I said. She didn't try to stop me, didn't follow. I packed a bag in 10 minutes. I didn't take much, just what I needed. As I walked out, she stayed on the couch, curled, in on herself like someone waiting out a storm they caused but still hoped would pass without too much damage. The door closed behind me, and for the first time in weeks, it was quiet. Not tense, not hollow, just quiet. I didn't feel better, but I felt like something real had finally happened. I stayed at my brother's place for 6 days. He had a small 2-bedroom condo out in Silver Ridge, quiet, newer development, no street noise, no shared walls. He didn't ask a lot of questions. I told him it was complicated, and that was enough for him. He offered to let me take his room, but I told him the couch was fine. I barely slept anyway. On the second night, she called. I watched the screen light up with her name and didn't answer. She texted later. Can we talk, please? I didn't reply. The days were strange. I still had to go to work, answer emails, be normal to everyone who didn't know what was happening. Every small talk conversation felt ridiculous. I kept wanting to shout, my wife cheated on me and I'm pretending everything's fine. Instead, I said things like, not bad, just tired. And yeah, I think I'll just stay in this weekend. She kept texting every day. Not too much, just enough to make sure I hadn't disappeared entirely. On the 4th day, she wrote, I miss you, I want to fix this. But she still hadn't apologized. Not really. Not in a way that felt like it came from anywhere deeper than guilt. On the 6th day, I went home. Not because I forgave her. Not because I missed her. I needed answers. She was in the kitchen when I walked in. She froze when she saw me like she didn't believe I'd actually come back. Can we talk? She asked. I nodded. We sat at the table. Her eyes were puffy like she hadn't been sleeping either. I ended it with him, she said right away. When? 2 days ago. You waited 4 days to do it? She looked down. I didn't know if you were coming back. So it depended on me? No, I didn't want to do something impulsive and make things worse. I let that sit there. What does ended it mean? I asked. She hesitated. I told him I couldn't talk to him anymore, that it wasn't fair, that I needed to fix things with you. Did you tell him you loved him? She blinked. What? You wrote him things. Things people don't say to someone they're just sleeping with. Did you love him? She swallowed hard. I don't know. Maybe. I don't think I even knew what I was feeling. That's not a no. No, she said quietly. It's not. I sat back, breathing slowly. I never wanted to leave you, she said. Even when things were happening with him, it wasn't about that. It was about how lonely I felt, how far apart we'd gotten. And instead of talking to me, you locked me out, literally. She closed her eyes. I know. I need to ask. Something, I said. Did anyone at work know? No, she said. I don't think so. We kept it quiet. We were careful. That word hit differently. Careful. She wasn't careful with me. I stood up. I'm staying in the guest room tonight. I said, I need space. She nodded. Okay. I started to walk down the hall, then stopped. Are you going to keep working with him? Her face tightened. We're on the same team. I don't know if I can just quit. I didn't ask you to quit. I asked if you were going to keep working with him. She hesitated. I'll ask to be reassigned. Good, yeah, I said. I shut the guest room door behind me and sat on the edge of the bed. The house still smelled like her shampoo. The hallway had that faint citrus scent from her candles. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. I used to think forgiveness was something you either gave or didn't. That it was a yes or no answer, some internal switch you flipped once you were ready. But that month, living in the same house but in separate rooms taught me that it doesn't work like that. Some days I wanted to talk to her. Other days I couldn't even look at her without hearing those messages in my head, still thinking about last night. The worst part wasn't what she did, it was that I'd been right there, cooking dinner, taking out the trash, going through the motions while she gave the parts of herself I thought were mine to someone else. She made space for me after I came back. She didn't press, she didn't make speeches or leave notes on my pillow. She was quiet, careful, too careful. One evening, she brought me tea. I didn't ask for it, she just set it down on the side table and said, Chamomile? You used to like it before bed. I nodded. She started taking her calls in the living room now, even the work ones. I noticed how she always turned the volume up just enough so I could hear it was about budgets, timelines, deadlines, nothing personal. A week later, she told me she had transferred off Matt's team. She said it as a statement, not a pitch for points. I had to tell HR I needed a new assignment, she said. I didn't give details, just said it was personal. I didn't thank her, but I heard it. In the mornings, I found myself staring at her while she put on makeup. It was strange watching someone so familiar feel like a stranger in the same body. She still hummed softly when she did her eyeliner, still checked her hair from 3 angles, still left a lipstick mark on her travel mug. One night, she sat down at the edge of the bed, my bed, the guest room. "I've been seeing a therapist," she said. I looked up. "I didn't know how else to fix anything. I don't expect you to just get over it, but I'm trying. Even if this doesn't work out, I want to understand why I let it happen." I nodded. "That's good. I'd like to go to couples therapy too, if you're open to it." "I'm thinking about it." That was the truth. The truth was I didn't know who I was anymore, not just who we were, who I was. The version of me before this, before the lying, before the screenshots, before the locked door, he was gone. And whoever I was now didn't know what to do with all the leftover pieces. I didn't trust her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I also didn't trust myself to know when it was okay to let something go. There were moments that threw me. One morning I found a hoodie of mine folded neatly on the bed. She must have washed it and put it there without saying anything. Something about that, the quiet of it, shook me more than a grand apology ever would have. But trust isn't built from quiet gestures. Not alone. It's rebuilt in the conversations you don't want to have. And I still wasn't ready. That Sunday, we sat outside in the backyard, no distractions, just the kind of heavy stillness that comes after months of barely speaking the truth. She looked at me and asked, "Do you think you'll ever love me again?" I didn't answer right away because I wasn't sure if I had ever stopped. But love without trust is just a feeling you try to survive, so I said the only honest thing I could. "I don't know." It was another 6 weeks before I made my decision. We went to 3 therapy sessions together. She drove us both times, her hands tense on the wheel, glancing at me like I might bolt if she said the wrong thing. I didn't bolt, I listened. I said the things I was supposed to say, and I tried to mean them. Our therapist, Jules, a calm, older woman with a soft voice, kept asking us to speak in terms of now instead of then. What do you feel in this moment, not what you felt during the betrayal? But the betrayal wasn't in the past. It was every time I saw her phone face down on the table. Every time I caught her glancing at a message and turning the screen away. Every time I wanted to ask, was it him, but didn't. The last session ended with Jules asking us to write a letter to each other, not to read out loud, just to leave behind, something for each of us to process. I wrote mine that night. I kept it short. I told her I believed she was sorry and I believed she regretted what she'd done, but I also told her something I hadn't been able to say out loud in the room. That I didn't know how to keep sharing a life with someone who had already started building another one behind my back. She wrote hers too. She left it on my pillow the next morning. I didn't open it, not right away. I kept it on the nightstand for almost 2 days. When I finally read it, it was handwritten in small, tight letters. She said she loved me. She said she didn't expect me to stay if I couldn't find a way to forgive her. She said she knew she broke something and that even if we didn't make it, she would spend a long time learning what led her there. She didn't beg. She didn't try to sway me. She just told the truth, and somehow that made it easier. I sat with it for another week. Then I woke up on a Thursday and started packing. I didn't make a big speech. I didn't wait for her to come home from work and force a moment. I just texted her, "I'm going to move out this weekend. I think it's the right thing for both of us." She replied 3 minutes later, "Okay, I understand." No fight, no panic, no pleading. That night we sat down in the living room. She didn't ask me to stay. I didn't ask her to explain anything else. I told her I was going to take the guest bed and my desk and that I'd handle the paperwork when I was ready. She nodded. Then she said, "I'm sorry for all of it." I looked at her for a long time. "I know," I said, and I meant it. I just couldn't stay. It's been almost 9 months since I moved out. I found a 1-bedroom on the east side of town, not far from where I grew up. It's nothing fancy, just a small second-floor apartment over a florist's shop. But it's quiet, and I can see the tops of trees from the kitchen window. The first few weeks were hard. I'd wake up and reach toward the other side of the bed before I remembered there wasn't anyone there. I'd hear a notification on my phone and instinctively think it was her, then realize we hadn't spoken since the day I left. We didn't make any big dramatic final conversation, no what could have been or let's try one more time. We signed the divorce papers in a lawyer's office 3 months ago. She didn't wear her ring. I didn't either. It was civil. That's probably the best word for it. No yelling, no insults, just 2 people quietly ending something they thought would last forever. She kept the house. I didn't want it. Too many rooms that felt like reminders. I took the guest bed, the desk, my books, my clothes, and that was it. People always ask if there was some final straw, some last betrayal that broke it all. But the truth is, it wasn't a single thing. It was 100 small choices, locked doors, quiet lies, moments when she could have told me the truth and didn't. I've stopped checking her social media. I don't know if she's still working with Matt or if they ever tried to make something out of what they started. I don't want to know. For a while, I hated her, not loudly, quietly. The way you hate someone when they've disappointed you so thoroughly, it leaves a hole where the trust used to be. But hate doesn't last. Now I just feel distance. I started therapy on my own. I didn't expect to. I walked in thinking I needed help dealing with the betrayal, but what I found was that I needed help dealing with myself. The part of me that ignored things, the part that didn't speak up soon enough, the part that confused being steady with being silent. I go twice a month, it helps. I started running again too, nothing competitive, just a couple of miles on the trail behind the library. I don't run fast and I don't run far, but I show up. That's what most of my life is now, showing up. I show up for work. I show up for my brother who helped me get through those first few weeks on his couch. I show up for myself, even when I don't feel like it. Sometimes I still catch myself wondering what would have happened if I'd said something sooner, or if she had, but then I remember I didn't lose her all at once. I lost her in pieces, and I let her go the same way, one piece at a time. Now I'm starting over, not with anyone else, not yet, just with myself. And for the first time in a long time, that feels like enough.